There's a true story of something that happened in the United States where they'd, in one town, I don't know which town it was now, but they'd built a monument and they'd placed it in a public park, and the monument was representative of the Ten Commandments, And it happened that, it was taken on camera as well, that a man had drove into the park in his car and he deliberately rammed into the monument to knock it over. And it could be seen and heard and the volume that as he was doing so, he was screaming at the top of his voice, "Freedom!" And that's the story. It's kind of representative of that rebellion of man against the instance of authority with which he feels constrained by rules and regulations, the authority figure, and in this case, God and his rules over our life. We want to be free, but obviously that is a false interpretation of what the God's commandments are, and any legitimate instance of authority which governs us by rules which are there and set in place for the common good, so that we can live together in society in a healthy way. I said it's like a reflection in general in the whole Western world of that rebellion against authority. Now, in the first reading we've just read from the book of Deuteronomy, where Moses, before the people enter into the promised land, he reminds them of the covenant they've made with God and the rules that God had imposed upon them, and that if they have lived by them and they're faithful to them, then they will prosper, they will live, and they will be lifted up above all the other nations. But also in this book, in the book of Deuteronomy, Moses goes on to tell the people that, but if they are unfaithful to God's rules, to God's commandments, then there are curses which they will suffer. And amongst these curses, there are different curses. One says that your food will be cursed even, and your children will be cursed, and you will be dispersed among all the nations, and you who are supposed to be the children of God, God's people, will end up living like the pagans and adoring their own idols. If just go over some of them curses. Even your food will be cursed. We're living in a world where the food that we eat is more like poison. I don't think there's been any time in the world where the cases of cancer are soaring so high, and unhealthiness in general. And I would point the finger in many cases to the food that they give to us, which is so genetically manipulated and chemically controlled with all the hormones and the artificial preservatives to conserve it. You could buy an apple in the grocers. It looks perfect, rosy red on the outside, and then you put it on your plate, you open it up, and it's all rotten within. Even your food will be cursed. Your children will be cursed. Those truly authentic living Catholics and Christians of today who live their family life and their married life, and they're open to life, and they have an abundance of kids, are scorned upon in a society where life is scorned at, where they promote open promiscuity on one side, and on the other promoting contraception and abortion in a culture of death. Even children will be cursed. So that's the society that we're living in today. See, all is upside down, and it's given the image of being acceptable, and where you can live a life where you just live by your own feelings, and there are your own feelings which dictate your true identity. You can be a boy if you're a girl if you're a boy, etc. So I think I get the point across, where we're living in the times where God's law is set aside, And we're living in a country where it is placed on the level of natural law, where women can eliminate the child in their womb. That's the world we are living in, where God's laws have been set aside. Perhaps we're living in a world where the curses of the law are actually being realized. So we can pray now. Jesus came not to abolish the law. The law is there to help us to be truly human and live fully human lives. Jesus didn't come to abolish the law, but to fulfill it, to bring it to its completion. And his law can be summed up in one word: love. Love one another as I have loved you. And love is not self-seeking. It is selfless and all-giving of self. So we can ask our Heavenly Mother today in this Mass that she may teach us to be truly faithful to God's law, to live it to the full, and so that we can be ever more like Christ in this world. Amen.